bought this book on a whim about a year ago at a local bookstore. It had a pretty chic cover, the reviews on the back seemed favorable, and I never really had read anything too in-depth by Al Gore before, so I decided to give it a shot, especially since it wasn't all that long of a book. But what really caught my attention was the title, The Assault on Reason. With political polarization at an all-time high, and faith in our political institutions eroding so quickly, I thought that maybe, just maybe, this book could explain how we got here and what we can do to fix everything without resorting to cliché or buzzwords. And to some extent, it did. But there's a catch. This book isn't a reaction to the age of Trump. Nowhere in this book will you find references to InfoWars or Twitter or even the term fake news. And, well, that's because this book was published well over 10 years ago, back in 2007, during the tail end of the Bush administration. Let's put this even more in perspective. 2007 was the year that the original iPhone was released. It was only 2 years after YouTube went online. And, well, I was 9 years old, and in 5th grade. This book for me has proven to be an incredible resource because it gave me insight into the state of politics when I was, frankly, too young and too stupid to understand how politics really worked. But, like I said before, it also provides a very convincing account about how our political climate has shifted so much in the last 20 years. Obviously, him being Al Gore, he points the finger at Republicans, President Bush in particular, and 9/11 for Gore is the starting point for this dangerous and reckless trend in politics. For example, Gore discusses in detail how Bush, the day after 9/11, insisted that his staff find a link between the terrorist attacks and Saddam Hussein in Iraq. This marked the first of a series of instances where Bush ignored the counsel of his advisors and, well, facts in order to push some agenda. It's not only Bush, though, who is responsible for the quote-unquote assault on reason. Many pundits and public figures share just as much of the blame in Gore's eyes. He cites several figures of the right who villainize Democrats to an almost unprecedented degree. For example, Jerry Falwell, the founder of Liberty University, even blamed Democrats for 9/11, characterizing the attack as retribution by God for trying to, quote, secularize America. What this did was brand those on the left as not only enemies of America, but also enemies of the Christian faith, as the two often became conflated to those on the right. The left became a dehumanized monstrosity that cannot possibly be reasoned with. Gore dubs this tactic as, quote, blinding the faithful, as leaders cite divine providence in order to escape from having to deal with real facts and issues. And then there's also television and mass media. Gore states that TV's influence had gotten so profound that it had put America into a semi-hypnotic state, weakening the ultimate check to government power, the well-informed citizenry. So far, the assault on reason has led to pointless wars, the exacerbation of climate change, and the diminishing importance of the individual in society. And to me, it's astounding that Gore was able to recognize these trends well over 10 years ago, and that most of the issues he identified have only gotten worse over time. So, what's Al Gore's silver bullet to all this? Well, the internet. He describes the internet as not just another platform for disseminating truth, but as a platform for pursuing truth. He characterized the internet almost like a second printing press because of its potentially widespread accessibility and its reliance on text to communicate. He believed that social networks will lead to community and foster political participation, and even predicted how the internet has disrupted campaign finance. Just look at Bernie Sanders' campaign from 2016, or his current campaign now. At the time, though, the internet still had a lot of catching up to do with respect to video, as online videos at the time paled in comparison to television. He comes at this problem overall with an incredibly hopeful and optimistic attitude, but I think it strays too much into naivete. Now, internet video has certainly caught up significantly with television, and social media has most definitely helped facilitate community, but it's also created, frankly, a hellscape. YouTube and social media have become extensions for traditional TV networks to spread their content a lot of the time. And while some online communities are positive, or at least benign, others have become, echo chambers, where one's beliefs are continuously validated and oftentimes further radicalized. And over the last 10 years, it's not like we've seen a revolution in political participation either. Many great strides have been made, yeah, but the voter turnout rate has remained abysmal, as just over half the population participates even in presidential elections. The internet is a great paradox, as infinitely useful data and information are easy to come by if you know where to look. But facts nowadays are oftentimes buried, distorted, or even ignored altogether by creators and commenters of all sorts. For some, the internet is the greatest informational tool ever created, and for others, the internet is the greatest propaganda machine mankind has ever devised, and many don't even realize that they're in it. This is not the only critique of Gore's book, though. At one point, he uses a fake Lincoln quote, and other times, Gore's writing can be needlessly repetitive and tedious. But since 2007, the book has been republished with a new preface and conclusion. I haven't bought this, but from an interview with the Washington Post about the republished version, he reveals that he believes that he was perhaps too optimistic about the internet back in 2007. But even though people still go to places that reinforce their beliefs, he still fully believes that, quote, individuals are finding their way back into a prominent role in the conversation. He cites all the reform movements that the internet has given rise to, think the Women's March and the Me Too movement. Even though Gore has walked back a little on his optimism, will the internet really be our saving grace as he still thinks? Does the internet really promote individuality, as Gore suggests? Or does it promote a culture of sheeple, who chase trends for views and followers? I'd say there's plenty of evidence for both sides, but even though I've nitpicked Gore's faith in the internet, I have to say that in the end I also still have faith in the internet's power to push society forward. Why? Well, because there simply isn't any other force in our modern society that has such disruptive capabilities. In other words, it's the only hope we have. So we better protect it with the same ferocity that the United States protects things like the First Amendment. That means net neutrality must be preserved in order for us to have any hope about progress in modern society. And while things may look bad now, it's important to remember that we're still in the midst of perhaps the greatest technological revolution in human history. So, who knows, maybe the current state of things is just a small detour from our true destination. Maybe 10 years from now, and 20 years since this book was written, Gore's prophecy will finally be fulfilled. This has been 1C2. Hello everyone, thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. I'd like to thank my very, very good friend Aidan Martin for giving me some pretty rad tunes that I use as background music in this. And I'd also hope you enjoyed it, because I put quite a few hours into this video in terms of looking back at the book, researching, and all the editing that went into it, because this turned out to be a much longer video than I originally wanted it to, but oh well. But yeah, other than that, I'll see you all soon. I got some more video ideas in the works, and so if you want to see something in particular, then let me know, comment, whatever. But yeah, until then, see you all soon.